Hi, I'm Ernie Zor, and I'll be your chaperone in this Puritas Spring software demonstration video of BookBase5, which is one of the major parts of Law Office Management Pack, which is a set of applications of which BookBase is one. Right at the start, I'll mention that you should watch our client-based video before watching this video. One reason is that BookBase uses client-base when it runs, so it makes sense to see that video first. Another reason is that there are points I'll make in this video which refer to techniques I went over in the client-based video, and I'm not going to repeat them. Like client-based, BookBase is unique in the Puritas Springs software catalog because it goes a long time without needing to purchase an update. That's because accounting principles don't change much over time, not like tax laws and legal forms, so customers that purchased Law Office Management in 2011 are still using the same app. No update costs, no subscription fees, no technical support charges, and furthermore, it works in XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10. As with client-base, BookBase also has a main window, and you're looking at the main window right now. Also like client-base, the main window is separated into two parts. You might remember the list view and the table view in client-base. Well, in BookBase, the top part is the income window, and the bottom part is the expense window. For purposes of this video, I've opened up a BookBase file that's part of the demo at our website. It's called sample.bb5. It has a couple hundred fictitious income and entry expenses. Let me say that again. It has a couple hundred fictitious income and expense entries that we're going to use for this demonstration. Like client-base, when you're not in the main window, you'll probably be working in one of the two entry forms. I'll bring up the income entry form so you can see it. Now, when I'm helping someone learn BookBase, one of the first things I tell them are there's two important fields on the entry form, the date field and the amount field. All the other fields are optional. Let's go through the fields. Record number, well, it's analogous to the check number field in the expense entry form, but typically not used for income entries. Unless your office uses vouchers or receipts, you'll likely leave this field blank. Date. This is one of the key fields because it's the field that the income and expense windows are sorted on by default. Client name and number, I have two comments to make about this field. One, you might ask, why isn't this a required field? It seems like it should be, but the answer is that you'll have plenty of receipts and disbursements that are not related to clients. A utility bill, for example. That underscores an important point. Law Office Management isn't just for client building. It can handle all office receipts and disbursements. Now, two, don't worry about memorizing client numbers. When you pull down the list, all your client-base clients are listed, and the list is filtered as you type. I'll show you. You can see how that was indexing itself with each keystroke that I made. So the bottom line is that you barely need to type more than a few letters of the last name, and up will pop the name that you can click on and select. Payor field, this field completes automatically when you select the client number. Now you can change it, but it usually is correct in its default state, at least when it comes to client-related receipts. Description, this is also optional. You can put any information that you want into that field. Category, another optional field. The pull-down list of categories has most of the items you'd encounter in law office bookkeeping, and the list can be added to or changed using the category editor on the options menu. The code field, code is a single character optional field that you can use for whatever purpose you want. Amount, that's the other required field that I mentioned along with the date field. Account, another optional field. It can be used to identify the bank account in which a receipt item was deposited. It can be used for any other purpose that you want, really. The list in the pull-down can be edited using the account editor, which is also on the options menu, like the category editor. I'm going to move on to the expense entry form, and I'll double click. I'll put that one away, and let's double click on one of the expense ones. There's little different about the expense entry form. I'll bring it up on the screen as I did right now, and you'll see that the record number field is now the check number field, and the categories listed in the categories are pull downs for those appropriate for expense entries, but otherwise it's pretty much identical to the income entry form. Now, I'm going to put away the income or the expense entry form there, and let's talk for a moment about the button bar. Another client-based similarity is the button bar at the top of the screen. You have the same navigational buttons. The buttons take you to the first item in the window, the last item, or moving backwards and forwards one by one through the database items. All the same as what you found in client-base. The add button, the delete button, the find button, they all work exactly like you would expect and exactly like they did in client-base. Filters. Now, that's something that I only mentioned briefly in client-base, and I think it has a lot more application in BookBase, and I'm going to spend a little more time on it because they can be very useful. Think of a filter as a find command that returns all the matching results at one time instead of running through the database and stopping on each matching entry one by one. Here, I'll show you. If I wanted to see all the income for, let's say, hopefully this is a month in there. Let's do a filter for July 2006 and see what happens. Get rid of that. And I'll click on Apply. Well, you know, that happened so fast that it almost you wouldn't think anything really did happen. But if you notice all those entries in the income window, they're all from July of 2006. That's how fast it works, in a flash. Entries that don't match the search criteria, like ones that are not from July of 2006, they're filtered out. A filter can be created for any one field or any combination of fields. What's better is that when a filter is used with the export command, you can send your filtered results to Excel, where they can be manipulated in just about any conceivable way. The only limitation is your Excel skills. At Puritas Spring Software, we use the export command and Excel, Microsoft Excel, we're talking about the spreadsheet here, to create our monthly sales tax return. The return is a rather complicated county-by-county report, and BookBase and Microsoft Excel make a great team and do a great job. Now, before leaving filters, note that there are 3 of them in BookBase. There's an income filter for the income window, there's an expense filter for the expense window, and there's also a filter that searches both the income and the expenses. You'll find that one, the combined one, on the action menu. I'll pull it down. There it is. Set filter. That filter is going to run just like it did in the income window. It's going to run in both windows. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't, so you have your choice. Now, another similarity to client-base is that when I want to see an entry's details, all I do is double-click on it, and that brings up the entry form. I'll do it right now. Let's take Richard Rudy. I'll double-click on it. Up pops the entry form, just like it did in client-base. You press the Add button to add a new entry to the database. There are two Add buttons. One for income, adding income items, and one for adding expense items. And I won't be demonstrating those buttons here. They work the same as they did in client-base. And the same goes for the delete function and the find button and the find buttons, the delete button and the find button. They also work just as they did in client-base. Now, I referred a moment ago to the export function. It can be such a useful function. I want to at least give you an overview, and the way it works is, first, I'll filter the entries. Okay, I left the filter on, actually. I filtered the entries for July 2006. Now I'm going to select those entries. I'll click on the Select button. They're all selected. And finally, I'll go to the File menu, And when I select export, it's going to say, hey, give the file a name. I'll give the file a name, and I'm not going to do that right now, but it'll ask me, it'll say, do you want to just have the selected files, the selected items go into this new file you're creating? I would say yes. And there would be an Excel text file that, or I should say really more properly, a text file that I can open up in Excel. And that's the way we make our sales tax report. You can just about do anything. Now, one thing is, I'm going to skip printing. When you have tens of thousands of entries in the database like we do at Puritas Spring Software, I don't use the printing function at all. And I pretty much doubt that you will either in most cases. Anyway, I could do a better job from exporting the file and printing it from Excel than I could ever do from BookBase anyway, so it probably doesn't make much sense to be demonstrating the printing functions. And that's exactly what I do when I prepare the monthly sales tax report that I mentioned earlier. Wow, that's it. That went quick. I hope this video gave you an overview of what BookBase can do, and I'll be doing at least one more video related to law office management, and it will cover the last major component, which is BillBase. Before I go, I'll mention that if you're interested in law office computing tips like the ones we put in our annual hard copy issue of Law Office Computing magazine, or our monthly email newsletter, you'll be interested in a book called The Best of Law Office Computing. It's not specific to Puritas Springs products. It covers all subjects related to using computers in law offices. It's got all the best tips from years of back issues, so I'm sure you'll find it entertaining and useful. It might even save you money because we've got information about free software and other utility apps that are real time savers in a law office. You can get the ebook at Amazon for only $9 and the paperback for only $12. Okay, hey, I had a great time making this video, and I want to thank you for visiting our YouTube channel. Our goal is to make your life in the law office a bit easier, so I hope you visit us again. And until you do, I wish you all the best. Take care.